The crystal halls of Zephyria Prime buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for an emergency session. Ambassador Crystal adjusted his ceremonial robes and checked his notes one final time. His 4 eyes swept across the assembled delegates, each species maintaining careful distance from the others, as protocol demanded. Captain. Jake Morrison guided his ship Liberty through the asteroid field that marked the outer edge of human territory. The navigation computers hummed quietly as they calculated the safest route to Mining Station 7. It was supposed to be a routine supply run. Nothing more than delivering food and equipment to the miners working the belt. Jake stretched in his command chair and watched the stars drift past the view screen. Captain, we're picking up some unusual readings on long-range sensors, called out Dr. Lisa Grant from her station. She was the ship's science officer, a woman, who had spent most of her career studying alien technology from fragments found in deep space. There are multiple energy signatures holding position about 50 light-years from our current location. Jake turned toward her station with mild interest. Military vessels. That's what's strange about it, sir. The signatures match known alien fleet configurations, but they're just sitting there. It's not moving, not scanning, just maintaining position outside our territory. On Zephyria Prime, Ambassador Crystal rose from his seat as the session was called. To order! His voice carried across the chamber through translation devices that rendered his words into dozens of different languages. Fellow delegates, we gather today because the humans are moving again. Our monitoring stations report increased activity along their borders. A murmur of concern rippled through the assembly. The Zenthari representative, a tall being with silver skin, stood to address the chamber. How close are they to the neutral zone? Closer than they have been in 50 years, Crystal replied. Our scouts report human vessels conducting what they call routine operations within 10 light-years of the boundary. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken fear. Every species in the chamber knew the stories their grandparents had, told tales of why no ship should ever cross into human space. Yet none of them could explain exactly why this fear existed, only that it had been passed down through generations of military commanders and political leaders. Dr. Grant continued her analysis aboard the Liberty, her fingers dancing across the sensor controls. Captain, I'm detecting at least 40 ships out there. Maybe more. They're using some kind of stealth technology, but our quantum sensors are picking up their engine signatures. Any attempt at communication? Jake asked. None, sir. They're maintaining complete radio silence. Jake found this puzzling. In his 15 years of space service, he had encountered various alien species during diplomatic missions. Most were friendly enough, though they seemed oddly formal around humans. None had ever shown hostility, but this behavior was strange even by alien standards. On the bridge of the Zenthari flagship Eternal Vigilance, Fleet Admiral Yuxano studied the tactical display with growing concern. The human ship was moving directly toward Mining Station 7. Following a course that would bring it within 30 light-years of the monitoring fleet. Should we fall back to the secondary perimeter, Admiral? Asked his tactical officer. Yuxanos considered the question. Carefully, the protocols were clear about maintaining distance from human space. But they also required the fleet to monitor human activity, signal all ships to withdraw another 5 light-years. We cannot risk detection. The order went out across the end. Alien fleet and 43 vessels began a coordinated retreat from the advancing human ship. None of the alien crews understood why they were retreating from a single human vessel that posed no apparent threat, but orders were orders. Back in the crystal chamber, Ambassador Crystal was reading from an ancient document. The accords signed 3 centuries ago are clear. No vessel of any member species shall enter the territory designated as human space. No exceptions are permitted under any circumstances. But what if they enter our space? Asked the representative from the Corvin. Republic. What if they cross the boundary? They won't, Crystal replied with certainty. The humans respect boundaries. They always have. The danger comes from us entering their domain, not the other way around. The Corvin delegate pressed further. With respect, Ambassador, many of our younger officers question these ancient restrictions. They want to know why we fear a species that has never shown aggression toward us. The chamber fell silent again, It was a question that had been asked more frequently in recent years as new generations took command positions throughout the galaxy. The old fear was fading, replaced by curiosity about the mysterious humans who kept to themselves in their corner of space. Dr. Grant looked up from her sensors with a puzzled expression. "Captain, the energy signatures are moving. All of them are withdrawing further from our position." Withdrawing. Jake moved to look over her shoulder at the display. "Are you sure they're not just repositioning for an attack?" "No, sir, this is definitely a retreat pattern. They're maintaining formation, but increasing distance from us." She paused, studying the data. "Sir, it's almost like they're afraid of us." Jake laughed at the suggestion. "Afraid of us?"
Lisa, we're one ship carrying
"Supplies to miners. If those are military vessels, they could destroy us without breaking formation." "I know it sounds crazy, but look at the pattern. Every time we change course toward them, they pull back. When we move away, they hold position. It's like they're maintaining a specific distance from us." The human captain studied the sensor readings, trying to make sense of the situation. The alien ships were clearly more advanced than the Liberty, with energy signatures that suggested weapons and shields, far beyond human capability, yet they were running from a cargo vessel. Admiral Yexanos watched the human ship on his command display. The vessel appeared harmless enough, just a standard cargo hauler following shipping lanes to the mining station. But appearances could be deceiving where humans were concerned. His grandmother had told him stories about human ships that looked innocent until they revealed their true nature. "Admiral, the human vessel is changing course," reported his sensor operator. "They're heading directly for Mining Station 7. Maintain current distance and monitor their progress," Yexanos ordered. "If they show any signs of deviation from standard shipping routes, we withdraw to the tertiary perimeter." The alien fleet continued its careful dance, staying just close enough to observe human activity while remaining far enough away to avoid whatever dangers their ancestors had warned them about. On Zephyria Prime, the debate continued. Younger delegates questioned the wisdom of maintaining such strict boundaries when humans had never shown hostile intent. Older representatives spoke of ancient warnings and the importance of respecting accords that had kept the peace for 3 centuries. "Perhaps it is time to reconsider these restrictions," suggested the delegate from the Zarian Collective. "Our species have evolved beyond the fears of our ancestors." Ambassador Crixtal, S4 eyes focused on the young delegate with intensity that made the chamber uncomfortable. "Young one, there are some fears that exist for good reason. The accords were not signed lightly, nor were the boundaries established without cause." "Then tell us the cause," the Zarian delegate challenged. "If we are to follow these rules, we deserve to know why they exist." The old ambassador looked around the chamber at the expectant faces. Some truths were too dangerous to speak aloud, even among allies. The real reason for the boundaries was known only to a select few, passed down through secret channels to each generation's most trusted leaders. "Some knowledge comes with a price too high to pay," Crixtal said finally. "Trust in the wisdom of those who came before us." The session ended without resolution, as it had for decades. The younger generation would continue to question, and the older generation would continue to guard their secrets. Meanwhile, human ships moved freely through space that entire civilizations dared not enter, unaware that their very presence inspired a fear that stretched back through the generations. Of a dozen species, Commander Alex Turner guided his exploration ship Phoenix through the swirling purple clouds of the Kepler Nebula. The nebula was known for its strange energy fields that made navigation difficult, but Turner's crew had mapped most of the safe routes through the cosmic storm. They were on a routine survey mission, checking mineral deposits on the small planets hidden within the nebula's embrace. "Commander, I'm picking up a distress signal," called out Lieutenant Kevin Walsh from his position at the communications station. The young officer adjusted his headset and frowned at the readings. "It's not human, sir." "Ta-da! The signal pattern matches Vorthok technology." Turner moved to look over Walsh's shoulder. The Vorthok were one of the few alien species that humans had met before, though contact was limited to brief diplomatic exchanges. They were known to be advanced and generally peaceful, but their ships rarely ventured into areas claimed by humans. Location? Turner asked. About 2 hours away at current speed. The signal is weak and getting weaker. Walsh looked up at his commander. Sir, it sounds like they're in serious trouble. Turner made his decision quickly. Set course for the distress signal. Alert the crew that we're conducting a rescue operation. The Phoenix changed direction and pushed deeper into the nebula. As they approached the source of the signal, their sensors began to pick up the outline of a damaged alien vessel. The ship was roughly the same size as the Phoenix, but built with the flowing, organic curves that marked Vorthok design. On the bridge of the damaged research vessel Harmony of Stars,
Althine?
watched the approaching human ship with growing terror. The Vorthok had been studying energy formations in the nebula when their main power core had failed. Now they were stranded, life support failing, and rescue seemed impossible. The humans are responding to our distress call, reported the communications officer, her voice shaking with fear. Zalthine closed his large eyes and tried to control his breathing. Every Vorthok child learned the stories about humans, though most of the details had been lost over the centuries. What remained was a deep, instinctive fear that was passed down through their culture like a genetic memory. Broadcast surrender. Codes immediately, Zalthine ordered. Make it clear that we pose no threat and request mercy. The communications officer looked confused. Sir, they're responding to our distress call. Surely they mean to help us. You don't understand, Zalthine replied, his voice tight with anxiety. No one knows what humans truly want when they encounter other species. We must show that we submit to their authority. Aboard the Phoenix, Commander Turner read the incoming message with puzzlement. The alien ship was broadcasting surrender, terms, and begging for mercy, as if the humans were attacking them instead of responding to their call for help. Kevin, send a reply. Tell them we're here to offer assistance, not to attack them, Turner said. Amy, what's their condition? Engineer Amy Collins ran her fingers across the scanner controls. Their power core is failing, sir. Life support is down to maybe 6 hours. Their hull is intact, but they're dead in space. Turner nodded. Prepare a repair team. We're going to help them fix their ship. When the translation of the human message reached the Vorthok bridge, the crew exchanged uncertain glances. The humans claimed they wanted to help, but everyone knew that humans were unpredictable. Still, with life support failing, they had little choice but to accept whatever the humans offered. Permission granted for boarding, Zalthine transmitted. Back. We place ourselves under your protection and mercy. Where Turner shook his head at the formal language. These aliens seemed terrified of something, though he couldn't imagine what. Amy, Kevin, suit up. We're going over there to see what we can do? The repair team crossed between the ships using magnetic boots and safety lines. When they entered the Vorthok vessel, they found the alien crew huddled together in their main corridor, all of them bowing low as the humans approached. Please rise, Turner said through his suit's translator. We're here to help. Can you show us to your engine room? Zalthine slowly stood up, his 6 limbs trembling slightly. You wish to examine our power systems? Only so we can help repair them, Amy Collins explained. Your power core is failing. We might be able to fix it or at least get it running long enough to reach a safe port. The Vorthok crew exchanged worried glances. Allowing aliens to access their technology was dangerous under normal circumstances, but allowing humans to examine their systems seemed like madness. Yet what choice did they have? Zalthine led the human team to the engine room, expecting them to be confused by Vorthok technology. Instead, Amy Collins immediately began examining the power core with the confidence of someone who understood exactly what she was looking at. The quantum matrix is destabilized, she announced after a few minutes. Kevin, hand me that plasma regulator from the kit. Dr. Kevin Walsh, who served as both communications officer and engineer on exploration missions, began working alongside Collins to repair the alien power core. To the amazement of the Vorthok crew, the humans not only understood their technology, but began making improvements to it, whispered one of the Vorthok engineers to Zalthine. I don't know the science, officer replied quietly. Perhaps this is why we were warned never to encounter them in deep space. Within 2 hours, The human repair team had not only restored power to the Vorthok ship, but it actually enhanced its efficiency. The power core was now running at 115% of its original capacity, something the Vorthok engineers had thought impossible. That should get you home safely, Amy Collins said, removing her work gloves. You might want to have your engineers study what we did. The modification should reduce power consumption by about 20%. His Elfin stared at the humans in bewilderment. Not only had they rescued his crew, but they had improved his ship and were now offering to share technical knowledge. This was not at all what the ancient warnings had led him to expect. "We are grateful beyond measure," he said formally. "How can we repay this kindness?" Commander Turner waved off the offer. "No payment necessary. We help each other out here in deep space. That's how we all survive." As the human repair team prepared to return to their ship, Zalthine made a decision that would have shocked his superiors. He activated his emergency beacon, sending a coded message to the nearest Vorthok fleet. The message was simple. "Vessel requires immediate extraction from human space." The response came within minutes. A full rescue fleet would arrive within 12 hours. Zalthian knew that bringing a military force into human territory was a violation of ancient protocols. But his crew needed medical attention and debriefing after this unprecedented encounter. "Commander." Turner had just returned to his bridge when Lieutenant Walsh picked up multiple energy signatures approaching their position. "Sir, we have company." "Good company." The scanner display showed 15 Vorthok vessels dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the nebula. They were maintaining formation, but not approaching, as if waiting for permission to enter the area. "Are they hostile?" Turner asked. "No, sir. They're broadcasting diplomatic codes. Looks like they're here to pick up our friends." Within an hour, Captain Jake Morrison arrived with a small human fleet that had been conducting exercises nearby. When Morrison's sensors detected the large alien presence, he had come to investigate, bringing 3 ships to support the Phoenix if needed. The lead Vorthok vessel, commanded by Admiral Kethfer, transmitted a formal request for permission to retrieve their personnel. The message was filled with diplomatic language about respecting human sovereignty and apologizing for trespassing in sacred space. Morrison read the message with the same confusion that Turner had felt earlier. "Sacred space? Kevin, are we in some kind of religious area that I don't know about?" "Not according to our charts, Captain. This is just regular nebula space." Morrison decided to handle the situation with standard diplomatic courtesy. "Admiral Kethfer, that he has permission to retrieve his people. No problems here." The Vorthok Admiral was shocked by the casual response. Human commanders were granting permission for alien military vessels to operate in their territory as if it were a routine matter. This was completely contrary to everything the Vorthok military had been taught about human behavior as the rescue operation proceeded. Admiral Kethfer found himself in an unprecedented situation. His crews were reporting that humans had not only rescued the stranded research vessel, but had enhanced its technology and shared technical knowledge freely. The aliens were displaying kindness and generosity instead of the dangerous unpredictability that ancient warnings had described. Elthine and his crew were transferred to the Vorthok medical ship for examination and debriefing. As he left the damaged research vessel, Zalthine turned to wave goodbye to the human repair team. Commander Turner and his crew waved back, still puzzled by the formal behavior of their alien guests. Sir Amy Collins said as they watched the Vorthok fleet prepare to depart. "Don't you think it's strange how they acted? It's like they were afraid of us even though we were helping them?" Turner nodded thoughtfully. "I've been wondering about that too, and all those surrender messages when we first approached. It's like they expected us to attack them." Dr. Rachel Stone stepped carefully through the twisted metal remains of what had once been Proxima Station. The archaeological team had been working at the site for 3 weeks, slowly uncovering pieces of humanity's first deep space outpost. The station had been destroyed over 200 years ago, but no one remembered exactly what had happened here. "Ben, come look at this," Rachel called to her colleague. Dr. Ben Carter was the team's historian, a man who had spent years studying the early colonial period. He made his way through the debris field, his magnetic boots clanking against the metal floor. "What did you find?" Ben asked, floating over to where Rachel was examining a section of wall that had somehow survived the destruction.
"I'll look at these."
Connection ports. Rachel pointed to several unusual interfaces built into the wall. "These aren't human technology, at least not any human technology I recognize." Ben examined the alien-looking connectors with growing interest. The design is definitely not human, but they're integrated into the station's systems like they were meant to be here. Dr. Maya Rodriguez joined them from across the debris field. She was the team's computer specialist, tasked with recovering any data that might still exist in the station's memory banks. "I've been finding the same thing in the computer cores. There are interface systems that look like they were designed for non-human users." The three scientists looked at each other with excitement. If aliens had been working alongside humans at Proxima Station, it would rewrite everything they knew about early human space exploration. Meanwhile, in the great library world of Zenthari, Prime Scholar Prime Veltar was having troubles of his own. The ancient archives contained thousands of records from the time period when Proxima Station was destroyed, but many of the files were corrupted or incomplete. What remained told a confusing story of cooperation, followed by sudden silence. Veltar's assistant, a young scholar named Kexrin, brought him another batch of recovered files. "Master, these records speak of something called the Great Silence. All contact with humans stopped during this period." "When exactly did this Great Silence begin?" Veltar asked, his silver fingers tracing the ancient text. "According to these files, it started at the same time as the destruction of the human outpost. All trade agreements were canceled, all joint research projects were abandoned, and the sacred boundary was established." Oh. Veltar found this timeline very interesting. The Zenthari had been one of the first species to establish the boundary around human space, but their own records didn't explain why it had been necessary. Back at the Proxima Station ruins, Dr. Stone's team was making more discoveries. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Brooks, their military advisor, had found weapon signatures burned into the metal that didn't match anything in current databases. "Rachel, you need to see this," Sam called from what had been the station's main power room. "These blast patterns are unlike anything I've seen before." Rachel and her team gathered around the military officer as he pointed to scorch marks on the walls. "The energy patterns suggest weapons of incredible power, but the signatures don't match human or any known alien technology. Could they be from some unknown species?" Maya asked. Sam shook his head. "I don't think so. Look at the pattern of destruction. Whatever did this was targeting specific systems. The life support was destroyed first, then communications, then the main power grid. This was a systematic attack by someone who knew exactly how human stations were built." Ben Carter was studying his historical records on a portable tablet. According to the Colonial Archives, Proxima Station was abandoned due to technical failures. There's no mention of any attack. "Then someone covered up what really happened here," Rachel said grimly. The team continued their investigation, uncovering more evidence of alien technology integrated with human systems. They found computer interfaces that required six-fingered hands to operate, atmospheric systems designed for multiple species, and living quarters that could accommodate beings of vastly different sizes. Dr. Maya Rodriguez finally managed to access one of the station's backup data cores. The information she found made her call the entire team together immediately. "I've recovered some of the station's logs from just before the destruction," she announced. According to these records, Proxima Station wasn't just a human outpost. It was a joint research facility operated by humans and 5 different alien species. The team gathered around Maya's portable screen as she played back the recovered files. The voice of the station commander, a woman named Captain Lisa Harper, echoed through the ruins. "Station log, Day 847. The joint research project continues to exceed all expectations. The Vorthok engineering team has successfully integrated their quantum processors with our navigation systems. The Zenthari atmospheric specialists have solved our life support efficiency problems. Dr. Chen reports that the combined medical knowledge of all 6 species has led to breakthroughs in treating diseases that have plagued us for decades. and her team listened in amazement as the logs revealed a golden age of cooperation between humans and aliens. The station had been home to nearly 3,000 beings from different worlds, all working together on projects that benefited everyone. But then the tone of the logs began to change. Station log. Day 1203. Long-range sensors have detected something approaching from the void between galaxies. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. All alien partners are requesting immediate evacuation of their personnel. Next log entry was filled with static, but Captain Harper's voice could still be heard. Station log, day 1207. The approaching entities have been designated as hostile. They appear to consume energy directly from living beings and technological systems. Our alien partners have withdrawn to a safe distance, but they cannot remain in close proximity to human space due to some kind of interference field. Sam Brooks paused the playback. Interference field? What kind of interference field? Maya checked her notes. There are references throughout the logs to humans having some kind of natural effect on certain types of energy fields. The alien partners mentioned that extended exposure to human presence enhanced their technology but also made them sick. The final log entry was barely audible through the damage to the data core. It's a station log, final entry. The entities have reached our position. We've discovered that human neural activity, when amplified through the station's quantum cores, creates a barrier that they cannot cross. We're going to overload the entire system to create a permanent field around human space. If this works, it will protect Earth and the colonies, but the station will be destroyed, and our alien friends will not be able to return. May God forgive us for what we're about to do. The recording ended in a burst of static. Rachel's team sat in silence, trying to process what they had just heard. So the humans at Proxima Station deliberately destroyed their own outpost to create some kind of protective field around human space, Ben said slowly. And that's why the aliens established the sacred boundary, Rachel added. Not to keep humans contained, but because they physically cannot enter the field that surrounds human territory. Meanwhile, Scholar Prime Veltar was reaching similar conclusions from his study of the Zenthari archives. The ancient records spoke of a terrible enemy that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing behind but empty space. The combined fleets of a dozen species had been powerless against these entities. But then the records mentioned something called the human solution. The details were vague, but it seemed that the humans had found a way to stop the consuming entities. The cost had been the end of close cooperation between species, as the protective field that surrounded human space made it dangerous for aliens to remain. Nearby, for extended periods, Kextrin brought Veltar another set of recovered files. Master, these records suggest that the consuming entities were not destroyed, only driven away. The files indicate that they withdrew to the void between galaxies. Veltar felt a chill run through his silver skin. Driven away, but not destroyed. The records are unclear, but it seems the entities could return if the protective field around human space ever failed. The old scholar realized that the Galaxy Council had been keeping more than just historical secrets. They had been standing guard for over 2 centuries, watching the void between galaxies for any sign that the ancient enemy might return. Dr. Stone's team packed up their equipment as their investigation period came to an end. They had uncovered enough evidence to prove that early human space exploration had involved extensive cooperation with alien species. The discovery would change everything historians thought they knew about human expansion into space, but more. Importantly, they had discovered that humanity's isolation was not by choice. Somewhere in the void, ancient enemies might still be waiting, held back only by a protective field powered by human consciousness itself, as their ship prepared to leave the ruins of Proxima Station. Rachel Stone took one last look at the twisted metal that had once been humanity's first step toward the stars. The people who had died here had sacrificed everything to protect not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Their names had been forgotten, but their sacrifice had kept the peace. For over 2 centuries, Elder Historian Nextel stood in her private chamber aboard the massive council ship, staring at the encrypted message that had arrived from Dr. Rachel Stone's archaeological team. The humans had discovered the ruins of Proxima Station and were asking questions that no one had asked for over 2 centuries. Questions that deserved answers. Nextel was one of only 12 beings in the entire galaxy who knew the complete truth about the sacred boundary. She was old enough to remember the stories her grandmother had told her. Stories about the time before the Great Silence when different species worked together among the stars. She activated her communication console and sent a message to the human archaeological team. The message was simple but would shock them. Meet me at the ruins of Proxima Station. It is time you learned the truth about what happened there. Dr. Rachel Stone read the alien message 3 times before calling her. Team together. The message had come through diplomatic channels and was signed by someone calling herself Elder Historian of the Galactic Council. No human had ever received a direct communication from the Council before. This has to be connected to our discoveries, Ben Carter said as the team gathered in their ship's conference room. Someone knows we've found something important. The question is whether we can trust them, Lieutenant Colonel Sam Brooks added. This could be a trap. Rachel considered the options carefully. The archaeological team had uncovered evidence of a massive cover-up that spanned multiple species and centuries. If someone was willing to break that silence, it might be their only chance to learn the complete truth. We'll meet with her, Rachel decided. But we do it with full military backup. Captain Jake Morrison received the request for military support and immediately agreed to provide it. The Liberty and 2 escort ships would accompany the archaeological team back to Proxima Station. Morrison was as curious as anyone about what secrets the ruins might still hold. When Elder Historian Nextel arrived at the meeting point, she came alone in a small diplomatic vessel. The sight of her ship approaching the human fleet without any escort surprised Captain Morrison. Either she was very brave or very confident that the humans would not harm. Her Nextel was unlike any alien the humans had met before. She was tall and graceful, with pale blue skin and large silver eyes that seemed ancient beyond measure. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of centuries. Dr. Stone, Captain Morrison, I thank you for agreeing to meet with me. What I am about to tell you has been kept secret for good reason, but recent events suggest that the time for secrets may be ending. The group gathered in the ruins of Proxima Station's main conference room, a space that had been cleared of debris by the archaeological team. Nextel looked around at the twisted metal and broken equipment with sadness in her silver eyes. This place was once a symbol of hope, she began. Humans and aliens working together, sharing knowledge and dreams. Your species and mine accomplished more in 5 years of cooperation than either had achieved in 50 years alone. Dr. Ben Carter leaned forward with interest. Our records from that period are incomplete. What exactly were you working on together? Everything, Nextel replied. Medical research that could cure diseases affecting multiple species. Engineering projects that combine human creativity with alien precision. Exploration missions that took us to parts of the galaxy none of us could have reached alone. Paused and looked directly at Rachel Stone. But most importantly, we were working on understanding human consciousness itself. You see, your species possesses something that no other known race has ever developed. What do you mean? Rachel asked. Nextel gestured toward the ruins around them. Human neural activity generates quantum resonance patterns that interact with certain types of energy fields. When amplified through appropriate technology, these patterns can create barriers that certain entities cannot cross. Captain Morrison frowned. Certain entities? You mean the things that attacked this station? The Devourers, Nextel said, and her voice dropped to almost a whisper. They came from the void between galaxies over 2 centuries ago. Ancient beings that consume life energy directly from living creatures and technological systems. Our combined fleets were helpless against them. Engineer Pete Johnson, who had joined the meeting as part of Morrison's technical team, studied the weapon signatures that Lieutenant Colonel Brooks had found. These energy patterns in the ruins. They matched the quantum resonance frequencies you're talking about. Nextel nodded. The humans stationed here discovered that their presence naturally enhanced certain types of technology. But more importantly, they found that concentrated human neural activity could create fields that the Devourers could not penetrate. The revelation hit the assembled humans like a physical blow. Dr. Lisa Grant, who had accompanied Captain Morrison from the Liberty, spoke first. "You're saying that humans are some kind of natural weapon against these devourers?" "Not a weapon," Nextall corrected gently. "A shield. Your consciousness, when properly focused, creates quantum interference patterns that disrupt the energy forms that devourers use to sustain themselves." She moved to one of the damaged control panels and ran her fingers across the broken surfaces. The people who worked here made the ultimate sacrifice. They overloaded the station's quantum cores with concentrated human neural energy, creating a permanent field around all of human space. "But that would have killed everyone on the station," Rachel said with horror. "Yes. 3,000 beings died here that day. Humans, Vorthok, Zenthari, Korvan, and others. They died to save not just humanity, but every living thing in the galaxy." Captain Morrison struggled to process the information. If this field protects human space, why do your people stay away? Why maintain the sacred boundary? Nextall's expression became sad. "Because the field that protects you from the devourers also affects us. Extended exposure to the enhanced quantum fields around human space causes cellular damage in non-human biology. We can visit briefly, but we cannot live in your territory for extended periods." The silence that followed was heavy with understanding. The humans finally comprehended why alien species treated them with such careful respect. It wasn't fear of human aggression, it was reverence for humanity's role as the galaxy's protectors. Engineer Johnson looked up from his analysis of the energy readings. "The field is still active, isn't it? That's why alien ships always maintain that specific distance from our borders." "Correct. Every human ship, every human colony, every world where your species lives generates low-level quantum resonance. The effect builds up over time, creating an invisible barrier that surrounds all of human space." Dr. Grant made a connection that chilled her to the bone. If we're the only thing standing between the galaxy and these devourers, what happens if they come back? Nextell met her gaze directly. "That is why I have broken centuries of silence to meet with you. Our monitoring stations in the void between galaxies have detected energy signatures that match devourer technology." The assembled humans stared at her in shock. Captain Morrison was the first to find his voice. "They're coming back? We believe so. The signatures are still very distant, but they appear to be moving in this direction. If our calculations are correct, they will reach the outer edge of our galaxy within the next few years." Lieutenant Colonel Brooks immediately understood the military implications. "How long do we have to prepare?" "Unknown. The devourers move in ways that do not follow normal space-time physics. They could arrive tomorrow or in 50 years. We simply do not know." Dr. Stone looked around at her team and then back at Nextall. "What do you need from us?" "We need humanity to understand its true purpose," Nextall replied. "The field that currently surrounds your space is passive, created by the normal activity of human consciousness. But the researchers here at Proxima Station believe that if humans consciously focus their neural energy, the field could be expanded far beyond its current boundaries." "Expanded how far?" Morrison asked. "It's potentially across the entire galaxy?" "But it would require cooperation between humans and the alien species, just as it did here over 2 centuries ago." Pete Johnson was studying the technical data with growing excitement. The quantum resonance patterns could theoretically be amplified through our ship's navigation systems. If we linked multiple human vessels together, you could create a network that extends the protective field wherever human ships travel, Nextall finished. This was the project that the researchers here were working on when the Devourers first arrived. Dr. Grant understood the implications immediately. "That's why your people have been maintaining the boundary for all these years. You've been standing guard, watching for the Devourer's return. We have been the sentinels while humanity grew strong enough to face the challenge again. But now the time of waiting is ending." Captain Morrison stood up, his mind already working on the logistics of what would be required. "We need to get this information to Earth Command immediately. If these Devourers are really coming back, humanity needs to prepare. And we need to restore the cooperation between our species," Nixell added. The Devourers were stopped before, only because humans and aliens worked together. Alone, neither of our peoples is strong enough to face what is coming. The alert came at 0347 hours ship time aboard the monitoring station. Deep Watch 7. Sensor operator Yelenek stared at her display in growing horror as familiar energy signatures appeared at the edge of her long-range scanners. She had studied these patterns in training simulations, but never thought she would see them in real life. "Alert the fleet," she whispered to her commander. "They're coming back." Within minutes, emergency signals raced across the galaxy. Every monitoring station, every alien fleet, every diplomatic outpost received the same terrifying message. Devourer signatures detected approaching from the void. The ancient enemy had returned. Admiral Yxenos received the alert aboard his flagship and immediately opened a communication channel to human space. For the first time in 3 centuries, an alien military commander would speak directly to human leadership. Captain Jake Morrison was reviewing supply reports when his communications officer interrupted with an urgent message. "Captain, we're receiving a priority signal from the Zenthari fleet. They're requesting immediate contact with Human Command Authority." Morrison authorized the communication, and Admiral Yxenos appeared on the main screen. The alien commander looked exhausted and frightened. "Captain Morrison, I am Admiral Yxenos of the Zenthari Defense Fleet. Our long-range sensors have detected the return of an ancient enemy. We need to speak with your highest military leaders immediately." "What kind of enemy?" Morrison asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "The entities you called Devourers. They have returned from the void between galaxies, and their fleet numbers in the thousands." Morrison felt his blood turn cold. "How long do we have?" "Unknown. Their movement patterns do not follow normal space physics. They could arrive at the outer edge of galactic space within weeks or months." Emergency protocols activated across human space as news of the approaching threat spread through military channels. Fleet Admiral Kate Sullivan convened an emergency council aboard the battleship Defender, bringing together military leaders from across human territory. The conference room was packed with officers who had grown up hearing stories about humanity's mysterious role in galactic affairs. Now those stories were becoming reality. "Based on information provided by the Galactic Council, we face an enemy that our ancestors defeated over 2 centuries ago," Admiral Sullivan announced. "These entities feed on life energy and cannot be stopped by conventional weapons." Commander Alex Turner, who had been recalled from his exploration mission, raised his hand. "Admiral, what about the quantum field technology that Elder Historian Nextall described? Can we reproduce what was done at Proxima Station?" Dr. Kevin Walsh, now promoted to head of human quantum research, stood to address the assembly. "We've been analyzing the data from Proxima Station. The quantum resonance field created by human neural activity can be amplified through our ship navigation systems, but it requires direct mental connection between human operators and the ship's quantum cores." "Is that safe?" asked Captain Morrison. "Unknown, sir. The process has never been tested on living subjects. Based on the Proxima Station logs, the original operators died when they created the permanent field around human space." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. To protect the galaxy, humans might have to sacrifice their lives just as their ancestors had done. Admiral Sullivan made the decision that would define humanity's response. "We'll test the process with volunteers. If it works, we'll expand it to the entire fleet." Meanwhile, alien fleets throughout the galaxy were mobilizing for the first time in centuries. Ships that had maintained peaceful patrol routes suddenly formed battle formations. Species that rarely communicated with each other began coordinating their defenses, but everyone knew that conventional weapons would be useless against the Devourers. Their only hope lay with humanity and the quantum fields that human consciousness could generate. The first test took place aboard Lieutenant Commander Troy Davis's destroyer Eagle. Dr. Walsh had modified the ship's navigation system to accept direct neural input from the human crew, Davis and his bridge officers would attempt to extend their ship's protective field beyond its normal range. Initiating neural connection, Davis reported as he placed his hands on the modified control interface. The quantum field generator hummed to life, and the ship's sensors immediately detected an expansion of the protective barrier that surrounded all human vessels. Field expansion confirmed, reported his tactical officer. The barrier has extended to twice normal range and appears stable. The test was a success, but Davis and his crew reported severe fatigue after maintaining the connection for only 30 minutes. Extending the field required intense mental concentration that quickly. Exhausted human operators. "We'll need rotating crews," Dr. Walsh concluded after reviewing the test results. "No one can maintain the neural connection for more than an hour without risking permanent damage." As human crews trained with the new quantum field technology, alien representatives began arriving in human space for the first time in centuries. Elder historian Nick Stell coordinated the diplomatic effort. Bringing together species that had maintained the sacred boundary for generations, the meeting took place aboard Admiral Sullivan's flagship, with alien representatives wearing protective suits that shielded them from the enhanced quantum fields. Even with protection, they could only remain in human space for limited periods. "Our combined fleets number over 10,000 ships," reported Admiral Kethfer of the Vorthok. "But without quantum field protection, we cannot engage the Devourers directly." "How many human ships can be modified with the field extension technology?" asked Nell. Dr. Walsh consulted his notes. "We can modify approximately 500 ships within the next month. Each modified vessel can extend protection to a small fleet of alien ships, but the human crews will need frequent rest periods." Strategy began to take shape. Human ships would serve as mobile field generators, creating safe zones where alien vessels could operate. The combined fleets would advance together, with humans maintaining the protective barriers while aliens provided firepower and tactical support. Training exercises began immediately. Human and alien crews worked together for the first time since the fall of Proxima Station, learning to coordinate their movements and communications. The language barriers were significant, but the shared threat created bonds that transcended species differences. Captain Morrison found himself commanding a mixed task force consisting of his own ship Liberty and 3 alien vessels. The alien crews treated him with a mixture of respect and awe, still struggling to believe that humans would risk their lives to protect species they barely knew. "Captain," said Commander Zelthine, the Vorthok officer who had been rescued by Commander Turner months earlier, "my people have been watching humans for centuries, but we never understood your true nature until now." Morrison looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" "You rescue strangers, you share technology freely, and now you prepare to sacrifice yourselves for beings you have never met. This is why the galaxy fears and respects humanity. It's not because you are dangerous, but because you are capable of such selfless courage." The final preparations were interrupted by urgent news from the monitoring stations. The Devourer fleet had accelerated and would reach the galaxy's outer rim within days rather than weeks. "Ships to battle stations," Admiral Sullivan ordered. "This is what we've been preparing for." The combined human and alien fleet moved toward the galaxy's edge, a force unlike anything seen in centuries. 500 human ships led the advance, their crews connected to quantum field generators that created protective bubbles around the entire fleet. Commander Lisa Parker, aboard the modified cruiser Valor, monitored the field strength as her crew maintained their neural connections. The mental strain was enormous. She could feel the protective barrier extending outward to shield the alien ships flying in formation around her. "Devourer entities detected on long-range sensors," reported her tactical officer. Estimated count, over 3,000 individual entities. The enemy appeared as dark shapes against the stars, moving with unnatural speed toward the galactic rim. As they approached, the quantum field sensors began detecting the energy drain signatures that marked Devourer feeding patterns. All human vessels activate maximum field extension, Admiral Sullivan commanded from her flagship. "Protect the fleet." The battle began not with weapons fire, but with an invisible war of quantum energies. The Devourers pressed against the protective barriers created by human consciousness. Seeking weak points where they could break through and begin feeding, Lieutenant Commander Davis pushed his crew to their limits, maintaining the field even as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm them. Around his destroyer, alien ships fired conventional weapons at any devourer that came too close to the barrier. Field strength dropping to 60%, his engineering officer reported. The crew can't maintain this much longer. Hold the line, Davis ordered, or all that stands between them and the galaxy. The mental strain of maintaining the quantum fields was taking its toll on human crews throughout the fleet. But as some ships fell back to rest, others moved forward too. Take their place, creating a rotating defense that kept the barriers intact.